Welcome to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my review of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Reboot Campaign Only? I played it on the Xbox Series X. It's also available on the Series S, Xbox One, PS4, PS5, and PC. Campaign was available for early access if you pre-ordered. I pre-ordered, hence, here we go. So we'll get into the story. You, once again, play as a variety of the characters from the Modern Warfare universe. This time around, Makarov has been broken out of a Russian prison, and Task Force 141 has to bring him down. And there are a few twists and turns along the way that have no fucking value whatsoever because of things like Warzone that already spoiled some of the twists and turns that you run into in this game. And I gotta say, overall, it was a perfectly okay story with an ending that can fuck all the way off, but it just wasn't that gripping. I mean, the story wasn't necessarily horrible, but it did nothing to really pull me in and get me excited. I really felt like I was going through the story for the sake of this review rather than I was excited to be doing it. There were a few times where I kinda got into it, but I was never as into it as I would like to be. Let's get into the audio, and the music is good. I think the music is well done in the game. I think Call of Duty has always done pretty well with the music. Sound effects, again, I think the sound effects are very well done. I mean, they better be. It's a big-ass AAA game. And then the voiceover work is great. I think all the actors do a good job bringing their characters to life, whether they're a main character or not. Let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is a first-person shooter. I mean, that's what it is. But unfortunately, this is another area where the campaign kind of fell apart for me. There are missions in the campaign that don't really feel like missions. They feel like shitty added-on DLC. Like, you see all these comments about how Modern Warfare 3 is an overpriced DLC, and you have your regular missions where it feels like a proper Call of Duty mission, and then you have these shitty, like, DLC ones that are just shoved in the middle. And the reason they feel like that is because they feel more like old Spec Ops missions than an actual, like, campaign mission. They're put on a little map, you're allowed to basically free roam, sneak about if you want to. You can actually select your loadout going into it. They feel like shit like that rather than part of an actual story. But on top of that, like, you're encouraged to basically explore the entire map and look for weapons and gear, and they feel like collectibles. They feel like distractions from what you should be doing in the campaign, which is a mission to progress the campaign. In previous Call of Duty games, the collectibles were intel and stuff like that. They weren't tracking, oh, did you find the 15 different guns? On top of that, you can't really customize your loadout in a meaningful way. You can customize your loadout in the sense of you found this gun in a crate. You don't get to change its attachments or any of that shit, so it's like, it just feels weird and arcadey, and it takes you out of the campaign. Otherwise, it functions exactly like you would expect a campaign to function. You have objectives. Those objectives may or may not change due to things that occur in a story manner throughout that mission. But the missions all feel fairly short. It is a short game, and I mean, none of the Call of Duties have had extremely long campaigns, but this one just felt painfully short. And that could also have to do with the fact that it wasn't an exciting one. And those mini DLC type missions felt like downgraded, like, Spec Ops missions. That's really the best way to describe them. So that doesn't belong in the campaign. I want my campaign missions to be, related to it and feel like that. They do a little bit of the choose your dialogue thing, and there are actually a couple of times where it plays into the mission, but it's not there much, and it's not there enough to make it feel like it really should be there. Not that it ever should have been there to begin with. At least in the previous game, it was a lot more optional, and it gave you some, like, insight to characters or whatnot. In this sense, it's just why. But let's move on to the controls, and it's Call of Duty. I didn't have any complaints with the controls. I think they worked very well. I didn't have any complaints with my aiming, my shooting, responsivity, any of that. Let's get into the graphics and visuals. And it's a good-looking game. I mean, it's Call of Duty AAA. It should be a good-looking game. And it is. The cinematics are fantastic. The acting, the design of the characters, the setting up of their kit, etc. All of that is really well done. When you're talking about the cinematics or cutscenes, whatever, those look very good because the acting is great. The graphics have just so much detail. It brings everything to life. As for the different areas you go to, they're all good enough, but none of them felt unique They all felt like stuff we've experienced previously, maybe in a different Call of Duty, but nothing like that I could really latch onto and be like, oh man, that was a standout level design. There was a good variety of weapons that I found throughout each level. Their setups were different, which I appreciated. There were a couple of guns where I was like, ew, that thing's just disgusting. Who the fuck would make that thing? But overall, it's kind of what you'd expect. But again, there was some really arcadey shit in the campaign that just felt out of place. Even there, like picking up a Desert Eagle that has like partly pimped out stuff off of like a tactical guy, not like some drug dealer, that was weird. Just running into shit like that, again, it was in one of those arcadey missions and it just felt out of place, and I don't understand why it was done that way. Visually, it's a good looking game and it's one of the better parts of what I experienced, and that's kind of sad to me. So to wrap this up, I think that kind of best explained it was that just nothing truly stood out to me from the gameplay. There were no standout missions or elements in this game. The story was perfectly adequate, but not exciting. Just overall, the campaign was really disappointing, and all the talk of, oh, it's an overpriced DLC didn't really ring true to me until now, and now I'm kind of concerned about all the other stuff, which I am going to play and review because I already pre-ordered the fucking game. As it stands, the campaign was by far the most disappointing Call of Duty campaign I think I've ever experienced. And I have loved the Modern Warfare franchise since they kicked it off. So I'm kind of worried about this. So that's the review as it stands. We'll see what I have to say about the rest of the game, but if you're in it for the campaign, I'd avoid it. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, how long have you been playing the Call of Duty franchise? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.